Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. What's happening, all my woods people? We are sitting in a truck, and I won't say what's happening in this truck because it'll sound really weird, but there's some things happening in this truck that are weird. I'll tell you that right now. It's raining and muggy outside. It feels like spring. It's like a spring storm right now.
Yeah.
KC?
Things have changed. I feel like the last 3 months, all of these rain fronts have been accompanied by like some booty cold weather.
Yeah.
And today it's like, I don't know, 60 out there and raining. So it's got that like warmer feel where the ground still stays warm and gets hydration. So things are about to pop. Things are about to grow.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like one of those catfishing days, you know, but I know it's still early just because it has been cold.
If the creeks are running, the catfish will bite right now. I guarantee you. It's probably going down. All the creeks are running too.
I imagine they are.
They are.
It's running across flat ground in my house.
Our ground is saturated right now.
Yeah. All these people are complaining about snow up north, and all your snow is rain down here.
Yes.
It's cold, 34-degree rain most of the time. So, like, look, we're glad that this time that at least if it's raining, it's 60 degrees. So, yeah, that's what's going on with us right now. We are not catfishing. Wish that we were.
It's kind of almost duck weather.
It is, man.
It's just that little drizzly, nasty.
It is nasty.
Rain.
It is nasty. It is. And speaking of ducks, we just released a film called On Fire, and I basically did like one duck hunt this year, and I may have done one other, but this was actually pretty much a filming assignment where I got to video a couple of buddies, and anyway, we just released it, so I'm pretty excited about it. It's doing well. There are lots of views stacking in right now, relative to what we normally do. And so I'm excited about that. It was something that really came together just like really organically while we were on the hunt, and tells a really great story. So anyway, today we're going to be discussing travel plans for 2019, a little bit of like habitat management type stuff, some tags, tag application and strategy for us. We can't give you advice on that kind of thing. I don't feel at all like we have the right to give you advice on that thing. So we're just going to talk about what's going on with us, what we're thinking.
Maybe where our like niche in that is that we pretty much are normal dudes.
Yeah.
So like maybe you can take ours, like our application strategy as an outline for maybe something like if you're that one, because there ain't many steps below us on like application strategy, but if you're that one step below us where you really have no idea where to start, maybe like we can help you be a starting place.
Yeah.
Like, or what's realistic and what's like, don't even worry about it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been putting in for a while in a few states, but I mean, I would love to have been putting in every state, but like I don't have, thousands of dollars to put in every year for all these different species across the West. So I have to pick and choose. And so we'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah. But you've been out of the country here recently.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Travel City over here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm just fresh off of a Mexican trip. And that ain't
to Gorditas?
That ain't to Gorditas. I was just going to say, that ain't to Gorditas or El Mana or anything like that. This is actual Mexico, the country.
Yeah?
I went to film a wedding in Puerto Morelos, south of Cancun. And it was a very, very beautiful wedding.
Much, if it says Puerto in front of it, you can't go wrong.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I don't think so, dude.
I've never been to a bad Puerto.
No. So, yeah, I had quite the experience.
How long were you there?
I was there, let's see. We left Friday. We showed up Friday night or Saturday morning, you could say, and filmed Saturday and had a off day on Sunday and flew out Monday. And
you had a whole day for an off day?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, dude.
So
I flew in Friday. We flew in late. Our plane left DFW at 8:50. So
8:50 p.m.?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so they're actually, this is weird, but they're on Eastern time, or, what would be our Eastern time. Like they're an hour ahead of us. So when we got there, we had that, it was late. And so, and then I don't think they observe daylight savings. So then, like, during the trip, we were back on the same time as when we were at home, so it was weird.
That's weird.
But yeah, so I got there. We fly into this little airport there in Cancun, and it is 12:30-ish, 12:30. And so we got 2 checked normal luggage bags and 1 checked big, huge Pelican case with a bunch of camera gear in it, expensive camera gear in it, right? And so, anyway, we had already been, like, at DFW, they just, like, checked every single bag we had. They broke everything apart. The guy checked through my carry-on bag twice, every compartment, and then took a little swab and swabbed the inside and out all over and, like, threw it in this tester for drugs.
Ooh, the old CSI Miami GSR.
I was like, good grief, dude. Like, how bad do we look, I guess. But anyway, so, got through that and ended up in Cancun, going through customs about 12:30. And I have a story here that's going to take a second. And I don't claim to be a very good verbal storyteller, okay? I need to think about things and, like, put it on a storyboard and then put it into film a little at a time, right? That's how, like, it takes me a while to do this. So I'm going to do my best to tell the story. I've told it 3 times now, once to my wife, once to Slade Daniel, who's, like, the star of On Fire, our film, one of my buddies, and then once to somebody else. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, I'm going to tell it now. Hopefully, it's a little bit smoother than when I told it to them.
And he's been refraining from telling me this story,
yes,
so first time.
We've been waiting a couple of days to do this podcast, so I didn't want to tell him. But, so we get into customs, and we are the only Americans. Our flight is the only Americans. It's the only people in the airport at 12:30 a.m. in Cancun, right? And there are just a few workers, Mexican workers there working customs. And so we get up, and we're probably like at the halfway point of people that have already gone through customs. So maybe even in the back. And so we the lady at customs says, all right, put your bags on the conveyor. And I had to ask her like 3 times what she said because she was barely talking. I think she was asleep when I got there. And she was speaking very broken English. And I was speaking no Spanish. So so you could imagine there's a little bit of a language barrier there. And so we put the bags on the conveyor belt. They go through. Then she wants us to put them up on these like stainless desks, and they're going to rifle through them, And they go through Justin's pretty quick, and then they go over to mine. And Justin walks through these doors and is going to wait on me to get done and come out, right? The door's locked, so he can't come back in, okay? A few more people go through, and I am the only white person in this whole airport at this point, okay? And they're going through my crap like it is got a bomb in it, okay? And this is so.
Why is there any reason why that they picked you to do that?
Yes, you'll find out.
Okay.
So, and I'll tell that right now. So I have 3 cameras with me. I have basically my Sony A7S II, my Canon 6D that I've had since 2012, and the FS 700. And so 2 of them are in my carry-on. One of them is the FS 700 is in the Pelican case, along with, I mean, it looks like a rocket launcher is in there or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's in there with 2 other big lenses and a tripod and a gimbal, all in this Pelican case, chargers and stuff. And so, anyway, this lady is in here opening all this stuff up, and it doesn't take long before we're the only people in there. And she's going through my stuff, and so, like, she starts asking me how much stuff is worth. And basically what it is in the customs like document they give you, it tells you like what you can bring into the country, and 2 cameras is stated on there.
Oh, so one of those needed to be Justin's.
Well, Justin had 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Y'all brought
5 cameras with us. Yeah. So that was fun. And so anyway, she's trying to find out how much everything's worth. She starts looking at my hard drives, which are in a baby Pelican case that I brought in my other check bag. And she goes, "How much?" And I said, $50. Because the cheap ones are $50 hard drives, right? And so she picks up the biggest hard drive and starts looking it up on her phone on Google, and shows it to me. It says $150. Said, "That's not a $150 drive." She goes, sticks it back out at me, shows me, and I said, "Okay, I pull up my phone," even though she had already told me not to pull my phone out after I had it out. And so I pull up my phone and I look it up, and I find 3 prices where it basically averages 100, you know. And so I show her, and she takes it, you know, for what it is. And so I said, "But these other drives, that's like 1 of 2 drives in there. There's 7 drives. It's 1 of 2 that are like $100 drives. The other ones are all like $50, $55 drives." And so I'm like, "These are not $100 drives. See how they're smaller? These are $50 drives." And so and she doesn't speak English enough to even understand me really. And I don't speak Spanish at all. I mean, it's like very, very little Spanish, you know. And so we're having trouble. And so she starts like calculating stuff. She asked me how much my Canon 6D is worth. Well, in 2012, when I bought it, it was like a $2,200 camera, $2,000 camera, something like that. So I said, well, I bought this in 2012, but it's a $2,000 camera then. But I said, it ain't worth that anymore. Like it's literally showing silver on it now. Like,
she probably didn't understand the ain't. That was the problem.
No, I didn't say ain't. She definitely wouldn't have understood it. But she didn't understand that 2012 was the year I bought it. She thought it was worth $2,012. Oh, and so cool. I'm like, I had to sell it. This is 8 years old. It's 8 years old. And so anyway, and then I said the other one is $2,500 camera, and luckily she didn't ask me about the FS 700, which is the giant camera that's worth like, you know, brand new is like when we bought it, I think it was like $5,000, $4,000, something like that. And so, which that's been a while too since we bought it. But anyway, she didn't ask me about that, and then she like comes up with this number. It's like $1,600 or $1,900, something like that. And she's like, "Okay, well you got to pay 16% of this to get into the country." And I was like, "How do you figure?" And so anyway, we like kind of go back and forth. She's telling me, she like shows me a document where it says 2 cameras. And then I read down, and it's like awkward. Like I'm exhausted and she probably is too. And we're just sitting there. And there are times when we're just sitting there looking at each other and there's no words being spoken. And there's no like body language even happening. We're just looking at each other like we're both exhausted. Why are we doing this? And it would be like this moment where it should be like an awkward like 15 to 30 seconds that wasn't really awkward. And so we end up going through some stuff, and I read through that document and I'm like, well, technically it says that okay, this is where not speaking Spanish really gets bad, okay? I'm like, technically it says that here, and I show her, I'm like, it says that what it said was that if the way I read it, at least, I understood it, was that if your excess, like above 2 cameras or above the things that you could bring, hard drive storage devices or whatever, you got 5 storage devices that you could bring. So I had 7 in there. I only needed 2, you know what I mean? But I brought them all because they're all in my Pelican case. I didn't think anything of it. So I was like, it says that whatever in excess, if it doesn't equal $3,000, then there's no tax. There's no import tax or whatever. And so I'm trying to explain that to her. Doesn't understand it one bit. Doesn't have a clue. She just kept saying no, 16%. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to say to you. And I said, I was telling her because I was like, if I can choose 2 drives, I'm going to choose those cheap ones right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to claim these 5 expensive ones. Anyway, it was just, we were back and forth. So like 25 minutes later, 25 minutes of being in there by myself with her. She keeps telling me, $1,900, 16%, $240. She keeps saying $240. And she's gone through. She asked me how much the Zoom was worth, which is what we're recording this podcast on right now. Like, I brought this Zoom just in case, and it came in handy. But just in case we needed to record some audio, we had like 4 other audio recorders with us. And so she's asking me about that and just like trying to come up. She just comes up with this random number of $1,900. Luckily, she didn't even ask me about the FS700 because that was, she could have put thousands of dollars into, on this thing. And so she's telling me $240, and I keep going. She says it's going to be $240, and I said, I can't pay that. I just look her dead in the eyes and said, I can't pay that. And she goes, just sat there and looked at me. And so anyway, we're back and forth. And so it gets to the point where, 25, 30 minutes in, we're both just tired of arguing about things. And it was civil, but like just arguing about things. So this other guy comes up and he's behind her and he's not really paying attention to anything. He's like 8 foot behind her, probably leaning on this thing, looking at his phone. And anyway, she goes, and I probably will mess this up, the whole everything, how it goes from this point forward. But I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, she's not going to take no for answers. So I said, I can pay you $100. And she said, 100? And I said, yeah. I said, will you take a debit card? And she goes, no. What she was saying no to, I think, was that $100. But I thought she said no to debit card. Okay. So I pull out cash and I flip out 20. I've got $110 in my wallet. Okay. I pull out 520s, basically all my cash, and I extend it to her. And she goes, throws her hands up and goes, no, and backs up and starts looking around at the floor and like all over the place, real weird, real creepy. And I'm like, this is bad. This is freaking bad. And so she backs up, just looking weird. Won't look me in the eyes anymore. And she's like thinking about something. I can't tell. This takes like 15 seconds. The dude's still right behind her on his phone, has no clue what's going on. So she walks over to him and starts talking Spanish really low, really quiet. And I'm like, I'm going to jail. I am freaking going to jail in Mexico at 1 a.m. by myself. Justin has no clue what's going on. I am done, dude. And so she comes back over after talking with him, and they both are speaking Spanish real quiet. Comes back over to me, and she goes, you go with him.
Oh, no.
And he kind of looks like security. He doesn't have a gun or anything,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to jail. And so at this point, in my mind, I've already come up with this fact. Like, I'm already pulling the debit card out, right? And I'm like, we're going to solve this. I'm not going to jail over $240, And so I pull the debit card out, and I'm like, hey, debit card, I'll pay, whatever. And she goes, yeah, you go with him. And then I was like, no, I'll pay it with a debit card. And she goes, okay. And I'm like, my heart is in my throat. I think I'm going to jail in Mexico. She's like, you pay 100 cash and say 30 debit. And I was like, I think I know what you're saying here. And so
that's $100 cash and $30 on the debit card.
And so she leaves right after that, and the dude approaches. Seems real cool, no problem. He walks up and goes, "I need to see your passport." And I'm like, "I'm going to jail." I hand him my passport, my immigration card, and he like looks through it. He really ain't doing nothing. And he hands it back to me. He goes, start putting your stuff up. He looks through it. He hands it back to me as I'm picking my stuff up, but he puts it in this like crevasse between my bags so where it's like dark and you can't see what's going on. And he leans in and he opens it up and he goes, "Put the cash in there." And I was like, okay. And so I pick my stuff up. I put the $100 in my passport, and he goes, "Follow me." And we walk to his desk. And this guy speaks barely better English, but hardly at all. And so we walk to his desk like halfway through the building here, and go over there. And like I said, it's like this. I've been in here for 35 minutes now. It's past 1 a.m. And at this point, I'm feeling better because I think I know what's going on. And we get to his desk. He goes, "Can I see your passport and immigration card?" I hand it back to him, and he starts writing me up a receipt for the debit card. It says $625 on it. And I said, that's pesos, right? And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "How much is that American?" He goes, 32. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so he writes me up this receipt. He has my passport in his hand the whole time. Writes the receipt. I give him the debit card. He runs the debit card. He hands it back to me. And then I put it in my wallet. And he then hands me the receipt, the passport, and the immigration card. And I walk off. And it has, I'm telling you, bro, I didn't take my eyes off of him twice for a split second while we were there. And there's no money in the passport.
So you paid off the Mexican customs.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
$100 cash. Him and that lady probably split it 50-50.
Oh my gosh.
And I got out of there for $130 instead of $240.
Golly.
Yep.
So what did Justin think once you had spent an hour in customs?
He was calling me the whole time. They wouldn't let me pull my phone out.
Yeah.
And finally, when I was paying my debit card at the very end, I said, "Can I answer my phone?" And he didn't understand.
Yeah.
And so I showed him I was getting a phone call, and he goes, "Oh, yeah." So I answered it and finally told him. I was like, "Hey, I'm about to leave, man. I'm sorry." He's like, "Dude, I was worried about you, man." He was out there holding our taxi, because we had paid for a private taxi because we had so much gear and stuff, and he was, holding them to make sure they didn't leave and think we weren't coming or whatever. He couldn't have got back in anyway, but just, oh my gosh.
Dude, did you authorize your debit card for like international transactions before you left?
I was surprised that it went through, but it did.
Oh my gosh. If it hadn't have gone through, who knows?
I know. I'd be toast. Toast. I mean, I had a big bank credit card with me too.
Yeah.
Which is handy. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, golly, it was. I literally thought I was going to jail.
It's fun.
And when she was like, "You go with him," I was like, "No, please take my debit card."
Oh man.
So anyway,
crazy,
I got out of there pretty cheap, I guess. I mean, they really, I don't think had the right to charge me that money, to tax me that money coming in, but they did. So,
well, I guess that means just make sure you review all your customs documents before you leave, and make sure you have a good rebuttal for.
Dude, we did a bunch of research.
Yeah.
I mean, we covered our battery terminals with electrical tape. I mean, we did everything that we thought we needed to do to be good and right. And dude, we got checked every airport we were in. We got checked more than anybody around. I'm sitting there getting ready to leave Mexico and go home. We are literally boarding the plane. I'm in line to board the plane. I'm like, they've called my group. We're walking on the plane, and this guy comes up. He's super nice, but he was like, "Hey, what?" I had a rod tube on my backpack, and he asked me, "Hey, what do you got back there?" And I was like, "Well, you talking about the tall thing?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "It's a fly fishing rod." He goes, "What?" I said, "A fishing rod." He goes, "Oh, okay." He was super nice, but then he wanted to see my immigration card and my passport. I'm like, I've already showed a bunch of people this in this airport. I am here. Like, we are past security. What is the problem, dude? I'm going back to America. You know what I mean? Good grief.
Come on, Eddie Murphy.
They checked everything, man. So I didn't love it at all. It was more of a hassle than anything. But I think the footage is a good portfolio or resume kind of thing, where we can show. Hopefully people will see that really pretty footage and want to book some more high-end weddings with us. So.
That's good. Well, okay. Here's the deal. You said you hadn't told me anything about Mexico. I'm assuming Saturday was something that I already understand happened, which is filming a wedding.
Yep.
You have a free day on Sunday.
Which, by the way, I filmed him bare feet the whole day.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
There's spring breakers there when you were there?
No.
That's good. You must have barely missed that.
Well, we were in a family resort. Like a family where, it's, I don't think it's family appropriate, so I don't think spring breakers want to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happened. Stayed up real late. You know, we were up late. We were up till 3 the night before, and had to get up early and film a wedding the next day. So we were beat, and then I was on my feet all day filming the wedding and walking in the sand all day. So that kind of wears you out.
Your calves get sore?
My calves actually didn't get sore. My legs were just sore.
Yeah.
All or just kind of worn out more than anything. They weren't sore. They were just tired. Justin's calves were real sore. He said. But anyway, which I think that I would say that that's a testament to just running on my toes a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I have big calves too. I think they're just strong. You don't know nothing about that?
Nah, I ain't got about that life. I mean, your calves pretty stout, but it's just I always noticed because I used to spend a lot of time at the beach, and if you hadn't walked on the beach a lot, you'd have different muscles in your calves that are sore than what you can ever really work whenever you're not on the beach.
Yeah,
so, kind of
my feet hurt.
Yeah,
my feet.
Because your arches get a ton of pressure.
Yeah, and I'm not a barefooter at all. So, but yeah, so then the next day we get up, and man, it was the best day. It was just like, I'm telling you, like we ate breakfast at like 11. I got up at like 8:45, you know, and we just kind of poked around, ate breakfast at 11, and then we eventually I went. I was like, it was like 1 o'clock, and I was like, hey man, I think I'm gonna go to the beach. Justin's just kind of slow moving about everything usually. And he ended up going and working out. And I'm like, I ain't working out, dude. Ain't no way. I worked out yesterday. So
on a Sunday in Mexico.
Yeah, dude, come on, dude. We're going to eat some. The sad thing is there was like no Mexican food on this place.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very disappointed in my ability to get Mexican food in Mexico. But anyway, so get up, moving slow. 1 p.m. Comes around or so, and I'm like, I'm going to the beach. I got my fly rod. You know what I'm doing. Like, I ain't just beaching. So walk out on the beach. I walk down the beach a little ways, and there's a dock. And I'm like, heck yeah, there's a dock. Covered dock. Had all the thatch on it or whatever they call that stuff, you know. It's like, this is awesome. So I walk out there. There are fish everywhere, dude. I mean, small, you know, like reef-type fish mostly. And so, and I saw some, I guess they're needlefish. They're like that big and they're real slender, you know.
Might be houndfish too.
Maybe.
If they're
They look
like that 2 foot length and they're green, they're probably needlefish.
Okay. Yeah, they were pretty long. You know, about
you
like
can catch
that.
those on a fly all day long.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I couldn't catch them because I couldn't get them hooked. But they were biting, dude.
Yeah.
And they are fast, man.
Yes,
I was
they are.
surprised. They move. Like, they ain't like, I mean, a gar, I guess, can move fast when it gets hooked. But other than hooking a gar, I've never seen one move fast, I don't think. You know what I mean? And so, anyway, I saw all these fish. I got my fly rod, and I tie on. I have 3 baits. I was trying to. You didn't have a phone when I was trying to leave. I really needed to get. Yes, I needed to get in touch with you, but I was like, I got a couple, and I'm probably not going to get to fish that much. So I had a clouser and like a bunny strip, and then I had like this like it was basically like a woolly bugger, but I made the tail out of rabbit strip a long time ago. You know, made it or whatever. And I didn't know, but that was going to be like one of my good flies. But I tie on the clouser. As I'm tying it on, this boat pulls up from out in the ocean, and it's like a pirate-looking boat if I've ever seen it, dude.
Is it a panga? You know what a panga is? Big round front, tall front end.
Fiberglass, though, right?
Yeah, fiberglass. The kind that they run up on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they come in hot, and it's one of the guys is a real rough-looking dude, and the other one he's younger, and he looks, you know, he doesn't look too rough. And so they come in, and they like park and lasso in and dock the boat like close between me and the beach. And so I'm like, oh, yeah, well, I don't know what they're doing, but they probably need to do something on land. Well, they start walking to me, and I got camera gear and a tripod and everything, dude. I got like big lens and everything all out strewn on this little deck of the dock. And so they're coming to me, and I'm like, what in the heck, man? So I pull my knife out, and I'm like, I'm going to make sure I got this knife right here. Because, I mean, dude, it's...
I know. You're in Mexico, and you don't know these people. Yeah,
I don't.
It,
and Mexico literally has... there are more... I think more American tourists killed in Mexico than all other countries combined every year.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I mean, the odds are slim still, right? That I mean, because millions of people travel
But
to
it's
Mexico.
a good scenario for somebody to kidnap you. Two guys pull up, you know, because they could have came from anywhere in the boat.
That's exactly what
and
I'm
you're
thinking.
an American by himself, and they've got you trapped on the pier.
Yeah. And so I'm like,
pretty sketch.
And I've got a bunch of camera gear. So I'm like, you know, I mean, honestly, you could probably have my camera gear, But if you come at me, I'm going to stab you so hard in the neck, it ain't going to even, it's going to take seconds before you die. And so, anyway, they come at me and creep me out. They walk behind me. So I'm like, I'm just trying to keep a frontal to them the whole time, acting like I'm not really too worried. Anyway, I'm kind of telling this is a big story, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. But they leave. And then so.
Did they leave?
Yeah.
What do you mean? They didn't talk to you or anything?
No, they came out to the front, and the guy had actually, as he was pulling up, the one that looked kind of rough, he asked me if I wanted to go fishing.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. And so, anyway, then when he came towards me, I was like, this guy is really trying to know that I'm an American and steal some money or whatever, And so, anyway, he comes at me. I don't know what they were doing, but they sat there for they stood on the end of the dock for like a minute, right? I mean, this dock's pretty small. And then they left. And then they came back a few minutes later and stood out there by me. And dude smoked a cigarette right beside me and then left. And I'm just like, what in the world were they doing? So anyway, I start fishing after that. And immediately I hook a little jack. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, little, I'm talking like 6 to 8 inches, like a little bitty.
Could you tell if he was for sure a yellowtail jack, horse-eyed jack, or something different?
They were I've got pictures.
Okay.
I did hook one that was yellowtail.
Okay.
And it looked very similar to the ones I was hooking. They just didn't all have yellow tails.
Yeah. So a horse-eyed jack is pretty much looks like a yellowtail jack, but of course they have a little bit bigger eye when they get to being an adult. But I don't know what they look like.
This is the first one I hooked.
Ooh, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So then it wasn't much longer. I start flinging it around, and I hook a good jack, dude.
Dude, that's a blue runner.
Okay. I didn't know what it was for sure.
Which is a type of jack.
Okay, so I had seen blue runners when I was searching jacks, and I thought, man, that looks a lot like the fish that I caught.
Yeah.
But I just knew it was some kind of jack.
Dude, you tie that on and troll it behind a boat. It's money.
Yeah,
that's the marlin bait.
Well, dude, that sucker pulled.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a 4-weight because all my bigger rods are either 2 or 3 piece and they're too long to carry. So I had to carry. Finally got a 4-weight. That's a 4-piece, and so on a 4-weight, those jacks were awesome, dude.
I bet it's fun.
They were awesome, man. And so anyway, I caught those 2, and Justin calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm done working out, bro," whatever. And I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "You want to eat lunch?" So we go eat lunch, and I'm like, "Man," and we're just chilling, taking it easy. And I was like, "I think I'm going to go back out there and try to catch a few more fish." And he's like, "Dude, I'll come film you."
Ooh.
And so I was like, "Heck yeah!" So we go out there, and I proceed to. I mean, I'm working the needlefish, but I can't get one hooked. They keep biting it, and they're fast, man. I love them. I thought they were awesome. But so then I'm catching jacks, man, and I catch a couple of big ones like that one, And when I say big, what we're looking at is what, like a 14 inches, maybe.
Yeah, like a 1.5 to 2 pound fish, possibly.
Yeah. And they just turn like a dang dinner plate, and you just. And
but big's relative, right? Like whenever you go bluegill fishing and you catch one that's like the size of your hand, you're stoked.
Right?
Like, it's big.
Yeah, and they pull. If you're using the right tackle, then it's fun. And so, like, I even was getting them. Like, some of them were getting under the dock. Like, keeping them out from under the dock was just difficult at times, and so it was a lot of fun. I thought one of them was gonna break my 4-weight at one point because he wrapped me around the dock and was just bending my 4-weight in half, and I'm just like, oh my goodness! And I actually worked him out. It's all on video, so
sweet.
I'm gonna have it, and we're gonna try to release that pretty soon. But I did catch, I think, a small grouper.
Okay.
It was like
you got a picture
changing
of that?
colors.
Okay,
I don't think I have one on my phone.
Show me later. Yeah.
And I caught some kind of little reef fish that had a black line through its eye.
Okay, that's probably a amberjack, a juvenile amberjack. Did it look like a jack at all?
Yeah, it looked kind of like a jack.
It's probably a juvenile amberjack.
It had bigger scales than a lot of the jacks I was catching.
Not. I don't know. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah, so I caught
That'd be
those.
some sort of a blinny.
There was a bunch of them down there. It was cool, man. They would every time I would bring my clouser past one of the corner posts, they would just there'd be like 40 of them just come up and look at it
So did you check on legalities or anything of fishing there?
I did. And I mean, the majority of people said that if you're fishing from a resort, don't worry about getting a license.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Well, I know that around that area there's like a national preserve, and maybe that's on Cozumel that you can't fish or something like that. I don't know. Somewhere out there you can't fish because it's a preserve.
You were able to fish.
Yeah.
There were people fishing at different times, not many.
Mm-hmm.
But
which is one of those things where I'm sure that like anywhere in Latin America, the locals, like the laws don't apply to them. It's just so they can bust people who have money when they come there.
Yes, yeah. And that's what I was worried about. But I was just going to play it chill pretty much. I stayed under that dock the whole time and caught fish. And
fishing in the shade.
Dude, it was awesome, dude. I mean, I didn't get any tan while I was there, but I didn't really want to get burnt this early anyway. And I've been, it's been a long winter, so pretty pale. But, man, I feel like, so I met a guy at the airport that on the way out in Cancun there, we had a pretty good, amount of time to burn there. And we met this guy. He saw my fly rod, and he asked me, "Oh, did you catch anything?" I told him, "Yeah, I caught a bunch of jacks or whatever." And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I almost brought my fly rod, but then I was looking and reading, and it just didn't seem like there was much inshore, fish there, fishing to be had or whatever." And so this guy, he ends up telling me that he owns like a 2-mile stretch of fee fishing on the Soquay River in Georgia, North Georgia, and. So I'm kind of like looking at this guy like pretty rich dude.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe a little bit of a fly fishing snob. And I'm not sure what he was looking for. Like, was he looking for reds and specks or like what? Because apparently there's decent bone fishing down there.
Yeah.
And jack fishing. And I just feel like maybe jacks are just considered like the carp or the trash fish of like.
Oh, they are.
You know what I mean?
Nobody cares.
Right. Everybody because you can't eat them, really. Or you can, I guess. But most people will say that they taste like beef, which I'm not sure that I want to fish that tastes like beef. You know what I mean?
They're real bloody.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, and me and you may have talked about this before, tuna are super bloody. Super bloody.
Right.
And we eat them all the time. And
Yeah,
we
they're
love tuna.
$10,000 fish.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, I guess that's that's true. Is that tuna is definitely tastes a little different than other fish.
I've heard people say. So I've had some friends that travel a lot, like Coast Guard and stuff, and I've heard people say like, in America, barracuda and jacks we don't eat. They're like bait and shark chum, right? But you go to like the west coast of Africa, and that's what they catch and cook,
right?
And it's delicious. So it's like, I don't know. It's just one of those standards things,
Yeah.
man, that we don't understand. That it's just like somewhere along the way, somebody had a bad one, and some way it ended up being this way.
Right. Well, also you think about maybe they're tough to cook correctly, so
Possibly.
most people mess them up and think they taste terrible.
Like
So,
rabbits.
Yeah.
Rabbits are kind of tough to cook that
Right.
way. But I don't know. I mean, I think the big three rules the world in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Permit, tarpon, and bonefish. And when people say, "Oh, there's not good fishing here," they're replying that they're stating that neither of those three are there. When it's like, dude, I will catch the mess out of some 6-inch pretty looking fish, right?
Dude,
like, who cares?
I was having a blast, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather have that consistent action. I think not that I won't ever do this, but I'd rather have that kind of a day than chase bones all day long and have them just consistently ignore my fly. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'm looking for one fish today or this whole trip. It's like, golly. I mean, you can't eat a bonefish either, really. I mean, they don't.
Oh, it's kind of like eating a trout, where it's like they probably are pretty good, but if you knock
Yeah.
one on the head, people are like,
Yeah. So anyway, I know that took a lot longer than we kind of hoped for, but that's
No, that's a cool story.
hopefully the footage will
You
be
made it home.
released. Yeah, and I don't intend to go back to Mexico anytime soon, really. But it does kind of have me itching, like, to go do some more of that style stuff. I saw one of our buddies who caught a snook in Nicaragua not too long ago on Instagram, and then so I'm thinking about hitting him up and being like, "Hey, dude, how do I do that?"
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, man. I mean, that whole, and this has been kind of what has kept me and my wife from going to do things. Well, personally, we want two different things from a Caribbean experience, but like, I don't want to go do the lodge thing. It's just not fun for me. It's just like a guided hunt. Like you and I have been talking about tags in other states, and you can put in as a, with a guide, and you have better odds. But it's like, I don't want to do that. It's not as fun to me. I guess I've never done it, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But I don't know. It's kind of like paying for your friends. It's not like a thing you want to do.
What do you mean, fraternities?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but yeah, that's what it feels like. If just to me, like, camp is part of the experience, and if you're paying a guy to be there in camp, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I know what you're saying, man. The only thing about that kind of stuff is like, I don't have a clue where to start when it comes to, and then also having a boat is pretty nice.
Here's the deal, though, man. Anytime we've ever like been on a trip and just tried to make something happen fishing wise, you usually can catch something as long as you don't have standards. You know?
Right.
Like if we were in Minnesota and decided like, okay, we're here and this is where like muskies live. Yeah. Let's go chase muskies. That was on our mind all the time. But like you take what you're given and you have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. It's true, man. It's true.
So I think you could probably go.
And I think
a lot of places.
And to like further solidify your point, I think that if you're like going to if you're going to a more like what you'd call a girly resort type of thing, you're going to spend a lot of money and you're going to be like, well, dadgum, if I go fishing, I got to catch a bonefish, you know? Whereas like if you go to some like village in Nicaragua or whatever and stay in a shack, your wife's not going to be happy, but you'll be happy with pretty much anything you catch. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like such an investment, you know?
Yeah.
So, I get what you're saying. But anyway, dude, let's kind of move on to a different kind of travel, which is tags and stuff like that.
Like
or we can go somewhere else if you want.
No, tags are fine. Okay. I mean, that's kind of what's been top of my mind lately. So this is how it's happened. A, it's that time of year. And B, while you were gone to Mexico, pretty much my phone just decided to stop working. Like I had like a fully functioning phone, but it just wouldn't recognize that I had phone service. So it's really not a phone anymore at all. It's kind of a tablet at that point in time. A very, very small tablet.
Yeah, that's good.
And it only works on Wi-Fi. So long story short, I had to spend a couple days on Wi-Fi just sitting around trying to make my phone work again before I could go take it to Apple. So in that amount of time, I've been doing a lot of tag research stuff. And research is a loose term. We're more of just like
dreaming.
Yeah, dreaming and just pondering a lot, you know. And I think in general, it's going to be a good year in the West for elk and for fishing because last year, so we've got a buddy up in Gunnison, or I do, and he's been posting stuff about like the snowpack and stuff like that. And last year, snowpack made it to 53% of the average, so half of the average. Not good. Not a good time for fishies and ungulates, right? This year we're sitting at 157 in the Gunnison Valley.
Whoa.
Yeah. So 157% of normal snowpack, which means here's how this works.
We're going back to the Black Canyon.
Yeah, that's right. Dude, don't tempt me with that. The snowpack, you're like, okay, well, that's a winter. You still need rain in the summer. The way I understand things, this may or may not be right, since you've got that moisture there, it's going to evaporate in the summer, condense, and fall in the same general area for the most part. It's not like it's going to be there, evaporate, and then go, you know, and the clouds blow 200 miles away, right? So the fact that you've got that moisture established at least is going to help. And then also up in the higher reaches, I mean, it's like having a sponge to where all of this ice and snow falls on the peaks and like has a slow release throughout the year. So your streams, rivers, valleys all stay hydrated throughout the year because you've got heavy snow way up high. And then also that means the ground gets good and saturated. Anywhere there's dark timber, that saturation is going to stick around for a while because the sunlight can't get to the ground and it's going to stay wet. So
that said, what does if we're talking right now, we're looking at like some elk deadlines that are coming up. What does elk look like for you?
Okay,
right now?
So for me,
we've been talking about New Mexico the last couple of days. So.
Pretty much, I'm either going to hunt Colorado or New Mexico this year. And Colorado is probably going to be OTC tag unless we do something with the leftovers. Don't try because I'm going to get them all. But like New Mexico is one of the few states that it's New Mexico and Idaho, I think, that don't have preference points. So Idaho, I have family there, but it's a little bit out of reach. It's just a long way away.
Ways, man.
And you can't really fly there. You got to fly then drive pretty much. I guess you could fly, but it'd be kind of tough. Anyways, so New Mexico's like in our back door as far as like the West goes, right? Like we can drive to New Mexico in 7 hours. Being elk country in like 10, which is pretty close for us, right? So it's a great state to put in for. You've been putting in New Mexico longer than I have, but we always try to like just hunt the glory hunts, put in for the glory hunts, and if you're the lucky 3% that actually gets to go on one of those hunts, great. Mm-hmm. I think this year will be a really good year to actually try to draw in New Mexico. My plan is you get 3 choices in New Mexico. So what happens is if your name is drawn, they look at your first 3, okay?
Oh, really? I thought it was the first 2 for some reason.
It's first 3.
That's good.
So you can put in for they have 2 archery seasons, a early and a late, so it's September kind of cut in half pretty much. And you can put in for 2 glory tags and then 1 tag that you really would like to go hunt if given the chance. Glory tag meaning like once-in-a-lifetime bulls kind of thing.
But you still have to – so you still have to worry with, well, even if your like middle-of-the-road hunt has dried up as a third choice, would you have been better having 2 middle-of-the-road hunts, you know? Like, I mean, that's the balance that you're trying to like figure out. You know what I mean?
Sure, exactly. And you just have to decide how committed you are to hunting New Mexico. Like, if it's New Mexico or bust, you're going to treat it differently than if it's like, okay, here's New Mexico, here's 2 glory units, here's one that I'd really like to hunt. If I don't draw that, it's fine. I'm going to Colorado because it's probably about as good on the OTC.
Right.
And that's also something you have to weigh out. Because there's some New Mexico hunts that are like 80% draw. Well, if you're going to go out there and sweat your patootie off and not see an elk, is it really worth it?
Right.
You know, no, not to me. I'd rather go to the mountains and chase heavily pressured OTC bulls. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I went too far off for this actually to be on subject anymore. But this year, I'm going to really try to actually draw New Mexico. I think we both are. My plan, and this is a good suggestion for anyone out there who would like to go hunt there, I think, is to probably try for 2 really good units, like the top end units for choice 1 and 2, and then for choice 3, do some research on one of the websites out there. Even New Mexico Game and Fish will give you some statistics on like percentage of draw for out-of-staters who do not hunt with an outfitter, which is 6% of the total allocated tags, and pick something that is in that like 13 to 18 range is kind of my plan. Mm-hmm. I think anything over the 22 and up, from what I've done research on, isn't going to be a lot better than what I'm used to in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, I'd rather go somewhere I'm used to or that I know or that at least will be cool and go hunt elk.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my plan.
You know what stinks?
What stinks?
Is that like those 13% chance odds, you know, whatever, those used to be like 33.
Did they really? How used to?
Like used to when it wasn't.
When they didn't split.
When they didn't split between outfit and DIY, I guess.
Yeah. So now in New Mexico, 10% of the tags go to out-of-state people with outfitters.
So you apply with an outfitter.
You got to register through them. And you and I have talked a little bit about this strategy earlier. And we're like, well, what if we just do a drop camp with the outfitters that count? The outfitter has to spend 2 days with you in the field for it to count.
Oh, which is going to be expensive.
Yes, exactly. You end up having to pay. So pretty much if you want to do a true DIY, you got 6% of the tags in New Mexico. So that's fun. But I think that it's going to be a good year for New Mexico. The elk are going to be healthy, and the horn growth is going to be top end. The reason I'm saying New Mexico is a good year, all this stuff, is because the elk in New Mexico are not original elk from the New Mexico elk herd. They were brought down from Montana in early 1900s, late 1800s or something. So they actually have better genetics than a lot of the Rocky Mountain elk that you see like in Colorado and stuff. So they're bigger bodied. They have better horns in general than a Colorado bull does. Okay, and there's always exceptions to this, whatever. But on a wet year in New Mexico, you can expect like really good bulls almost anywhere there's elk.
Yeah.
So sounds enticing to me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ready to do it. The other thing that's tempting is to do what's called a party app, where we're like, hey, Casey, Tyler, maybe Tyler's dad, we might all want to go hunt the same spot. Should we party app? I don't think it's advantageous to do so in New Mexico because you kind of kill your odds. If one name gets drawn, all 3 names get drawn, but you're relying on one of those names to get drawn. If not, you get 3 chances as opposed to 1. So it doesn't make sense to me to do it. And besides that, if we get drawn for like a Gila hunt or something, I don't want all 3 of us going in there trying to kill a bull.
Yeah.
If you get drawn for a Gila hunt, I'm going with you. I'm going to help you call. And we're going to
Right.
pack the thing out. It's going to be fun, you know. Like it's I don't know. I feel like if 3 people drew Gila on a party hunt, you would need 9 guys to go on the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, I feel like kind of along with what you're saying here is like if you're wanting to go with a buddy hunting in New Mexico, then you probably like your strategy of putting in for 2 like top end hunts, you know, 1 to 4% hunts, and then 1 like middle of the road hunt is a pretty good idea because you know. But if you were to put in for 1 top of the line and 2 middle of the road hunts, then there's a much better chance that one of you ends up going to 1 middle of the road unit and the other one goes to the other middle of the road unit. So yeah, you got to be careful and think about it when you put in for that. So that I'm kind of with you on that with New Mexico. I put in for Arizona already, and I put in for just dream hunts there because there's always a chance in Arizona to draw.
20% of the tags go to random. 25
go to random, and then so there's always a chance there. And then I didn't really I don't want to go on a hunt in Arizona unless it's like really really top end. I think I'm just gonna lifetime that one.
Yeah.
So since I'm already ahead of the game as opposed to other states, and then. For me, I'm the same way. Like my backup plan is Colorado, but I do have 2 points in Colorado for elk. So gonna apply for.
Are you gonna try to draw
probably
on those 2 points? You think?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put in. I'm not gonna put in for guaranteed.
Yeah.
Draw on 2 points units, but like
2-point units.
Yeah, something that
We've talked a little bit about the units on that, and since those are pretty obtainable, I'm probably not going to talk about which units, but. I don't know. I've been doing some map research on them, and it looks kind of tough.
Yeah, I know. It looks real tough.
So I don't know.
I'm still thinking about it. I need to go ahead and think about it a lot and get it ready. But and then I kind of think I would like to build some points in Montana for elk.
Yeah. I think it's too late to do that, isn't it?
I
Montana
don't know.
draw already passed?
I hadn't paid attention to. I don't pay attention as much to the northern stuff. I know that Wyoming allows you to put in for preference points until like October.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
a good
ridiculous.
thing to do. I did all 3 species. I think I did all three species in Wyoming last year.
Deer,
elk, and antelope. Yeah, and I think do it again this year. And a 2-point antelope tag in Wyoming is a good tag.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
cool.
It takes like 12 points to get the premium units, but then there's like a big jump or
Gotcha.
I guess jump down to like good tags.
I have a buddy that has like 3 or 4 there. So
here's the thing. I know we kind of jumped off states, but like since New Mexico's top of mind, something that changed this year for New Mexico is that your hunting license is non-refundable. So it cost you $65 to.
It's always been that way, I think.
And there's a button you used to click to refund your $65 if you didn't choose it.
I thought it always cost like $50 or whatever.
I
there
think
to
maybe
apply.
a $13 fee for the application fee.
Yeah, there's that fee and then a license fee.
But so now this year you might have a few less people do it because of that $65, but you still have to front all your money, but you get all your tag money back if you don't draw.
Right.
Yeah, but so I don't know. That's something interesting for that state. But yeah, Wyoming. I don't know. I was talking to a dude on Facebook the other day, a guy who commented on one of our elk videos. We got to chatting or whatever about Wyoming. And I was like, dude, I bet there's some good units in Wyoming, but I ain't going nowhere. There's grizzlies up there right now. It's just, he's like, yeah, man, there's some good stuff up around the park. And I was like, dude, that kind of scares me. And he said, yeah, I got a biologist buddy who says he won't go up there either. So if a biologist says he probably won't do it, then I don't know.
Dang, man.
That's kind of
That's definitely
sounds kind of
sketchy, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to have to bite the bullet one of these days and hunt in Grizz country. If you want to go to Alaska, you're pretty much going to hunt in Grizz country. So
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I kind of want to. I think it would keep a lot of guys out, but I don't want to. I just want to hunt elk, man, and I haven't hunted a bunch and hunted a few and kind of hadn't had great experiences, you know. Like I want to have an experience where like I'm calling in bulls and oh, it's a rag, let's hold off. It's just day one, whatever. Like man, that I'd like to kind of have that happen a time or two when I go elk hunting. So Anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't know. I've heard some stuff about Wyoming as well, as far as like things are getting much harder there. I think
Draw-wise?
yeah, I think I'm not sure if it's. I can't remember what it was. I read an article the other day. It was talking maybe about like less tag allocation, numbers wise, and so I don't know. It looks like they're saying it's getting harder, so I'm not sure if I want to start building points there or not. I don't know. Just it's a lot to think about for sure. What about antelope and stuff like that? Are you just Wyoming right now?
So there's a long story to that, but my wife really wants to go antelope hunting, but she hasn't taken the steps to get to where she can apply yet. So I don't know if that's going to happen this year or not. But here's my thing: is if I'm going to get a New Mexico non-refundable hunting license for $65, kind of might as well apply for antelope while I'm there, and maybe just do big time units, the Boone and Crockett units. But there's some units I think if you draw, then you're pretty much gonna get to shoot at a booner.
Yeah.
Which it's funny how like some species are that way, and then some like whitetail, it's like almost impossible to find one. They all kind of the same way.
I did some research on the antelope stuff there, and I want to say I can't remember, man. I'm probably gonna misspeak here, but there's something like you draw a unit and then they put you in these like compartments.
That's for rifle only.
Okay.
But that's how all the rifle hunts are. And don't get us wrong, this is regurgitated information from other sources, right?
Yeah.
Like Newberg does a bunch of stuff on this, great resources on YouTube. J. Scott Outdoor Podcast, another great for that Western stuff like this. But like if you go on the rifle hunt, they put you on a particular ranch, private ranch.
Yeah.
Even though it's a public hunt, you go to a private landowner, and you're kind of restricted to that spot. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I probably do archery because of that.
Yeah,
because I just want the freedom to go where I want to go.
For sure, man. So anyway, that I don't know. I don't guess I've ever put in for antelope anywhere, and I could put in for antelope in Arizona for $15, but the odds of that's like a super trophy state, and odds are not good.
We saw some toads while we were there.
Yeah. But just odds are not good, man. It's like, I kind of want to save that $15. I know it sounds stupid, but like, I want to shoot an antelope. I don't want to shoot a booner. Like, I mean, I would like to, obviously, but like, I just want to shoot some antelope. You know what I mean? I don't really have like a drive to shoot a big antelope.
Yeah.
And so
they all look big to me. Every time I see a buck, I'm like, that's a big one.
I know. I think I'm the same way, dude. We did that the whole way to Colorado. Man. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. I haven't really ever put in for antelope. I want to put in for Wyoming. I wanted to put in last year, and I just got to where it was deer season, and I was out of money, and I just hadn't done it, and didn't do it. So I don't know.
Well, don't you? If you don't put in this year, do you lose your points
in
Wyoming? I think there's a consistency thing in Wyoming.
Oh, I had never put in Wyoming.
Oh, you haven't ever?
No.
Okay.
I've never put in anywhere. I don't think. I don't recall putting it in anywhere ever. So anyway, but I do have I've got sheep points in Arizona. I've got sheep points in Colorado. And so I'm probably going to try to maintain
Good luck
those.
with those sheep points in Colorado.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm going to probably try to do the archery hunt.
Yeah.
So
it gets your odds a little bit better. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really got to looking at some cheap stuff here a while back and got pretty depressed.
Yeah, I know. I did too. And that's another thing that you have to consider. So like, a couple of years ago when I started putting in for Colorado, I was able to front the money, which was like a $2,000, thing. Fronted the money, got it all back, because it was the first year. And then last year they changed it to where it was $3 to put in for sheep. So everybody and their mom put in, and I put in as well. But this year I think they've changed it to like $100 app.
Non-refundable.
Non-refundable.
$100 for a sheep point. Dude.
It's like, would you rather put in for 20 years on sheep thinking, well, maybe I'll draw, after 20 years, or would you rather just say, okay, well, I'm just going to put a $2,000 into an account that's going to grow over time, and in 10 years, I'm going to go hunt sheep. You know what I mean? Or, you may not be able to, but like you keep adding a little money here and there instead of putting in for a $100 sheep application here and in this state as well, in that state, save some money, man, and just go. Or go, take out a loan. I mean, honestly, it sounds weird, but like I know people that do that. They take out a loan. They go on one of their, hunts, their dream hunts, and they pay it off for 5 years or whatever, And I've honestly thought about it, man, when I can kind of have that time. But, like, looking forward to this season, last year I didn't put in for – I've got a lot of points for deer in Colorado, and I want to go on a great mule deer hunt. That's what kind of my goal is there. And so I didn't put in – I put in for preference points only last year, thinking I would draw Iowa because I had a really good chance to draw in Iowa on 3+1 or whatever. And so didn't draw. And from what I understand, I was like one of 20 people with my points that didn't draw that unit. And so this year, as far as I know, I'm pretty much guaranteed to tag in Iowa. But I'm not going to say that I am.
Like we've said, if you don't draw this year, then you better be calling DNR in Iowa and seeing what's going on.
Something's wrong. So anyway, so I'm not putting in for Colorado deer again this year. And I'm going to start getting into the double digits and be able to get some pretty good hunts.
Okay, let me ask you this, though. From what I've heard, there's like a little bit of a gap in Colorado too, where you've got like some 6, 7, 8 point units that are really good, and then like you got to get to 12 before like.
Yeah, I kind of think that's what you're looking at. Like mainly like 6, 7, 8. You've got good rut hunts. I mean, like I've got a buddy who is like this. He told me what unit, and he said 7 points. It was his buddy drew it on 7 points that year, which was 2 years ago, drove it on 7 points, and he's like, this is, like, there are 200s in this unit. He's like, I shot a 195 out of it a couple of years prior, and so, like, big deer, and so, like, a 7 point unit is not a bad unit, but unfortunately, I'm getting to where I'm, I think, going to be 9 after this year, so, I'm maybe getting into my no man's land, but, like, I'll just keep saving it up, if I feel like I need to. But I think Colorado, like even the 7 point units are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean Colorado's the mule deer state.
I mean the thing is when you get 157% of snow on Gunnison area, like there's a good chance that there's going to be winter kill from that for those deer that live high up on the mountains and stuff. And so like you just never know. I think some of those units are just what they are because over time there's been some really big deer killed there or something like that. But like the state is so good, like you said, that it's just kind of like a 12 point unit could be worse than a 7 point unit.
Yeah,
1 year. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I mean it's like New Mexico and elk. Like the 440 might be in any unit in New Mexico.
Yeah.
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 I mean I think. Last year, a 440 got killed in a mid-tier unit in New Mexico. That's a stud.
Yeah,
that is once in like a couple lifetimes elk.
Yeah,
right? So, I don't know.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, deer for Colorado for me is still on hold, I think. But I'm going to be doing the Iowa thing, I think, and we're going to do Kansas again, I think, this year and all that. And
if here's something I've been thinking about. If you, I don't know, if you draw an elk tag in a unit in Colorado this year, I might grab a deer tag and not hunt while you're hunting, but we'll get you an elk, and then I'll be there for a reason too. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of times a good elk unit is like a mediocre to subpar deer unit, But if I can go up there and shoot a 150, on a leftover tag, hey, let's do it. You know? So
be awesome.
It might be something I'll look into. Just, I don't know. It's just like what you did with your Mexico trip, like maximizing your trip, and like you went down there and caught fish. And that's kind of how I look at hunting too. Like there's always like something extra you can do to kind of make it more worth your trip.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's a good plan, man. I like it. I'm excited. As far as, I guess, whitetail go this year, I don't really know exactly what my plan is, but I think that I'm going to really try to focus on killing a really big deer because I'm going to have 2 really good states. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to focus in the most, but I kind of like last year was like I just want to kill a good one, whether it's on pub or whatever the situation is. I want it to be a good deer for that situation. And this year I'm almost like, man, I want to really like find one and play that cat and mouse and have it happen, So anyway, I don't know which state that's going to be in, and obviously I still have to draw. We'll see if Iowa plays nice to me this year. But unfortunately, they've had a lot of really cold weather, so I don't know. I don't know what deer kills look like. Bill Winke's been on the podcast from Midwest Whitetail. He has done a few little videos recently on like what their herd situation looks like right now, and I know that they're in the southern part of the state, so things could be different north of them, and he seemed to think that they would be a little bit different north of them. So maybe that's just him being positive about his property, or maybe it's truth. I don't know. Not that he's trying to lie, but you know what I mean.
Hey, it pays to be positive sometimes.
That's right, man.
When you're hunting.
Yeah, you're just like the keynote dude on that thing.
Maybe
man.
sometimes not. I don't know. I just need hunting season to come back around so I get positive about it again, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So speaking of hunting, we're going to be hunting some sheds here pretty soon.
Oh, yes. I'm excited about that. So shed rally around here is not a thing.
No.
So, you texted me this weekend, which I didn't get until who knows when because my phone has been real dumb. But hey, do some shed rally stuff if you can while I'm in Mexico. I was like, nope. Because I actually did see a lot of bucks this weekend. And every single one of them was still holding antlers, up to 3-year-olds.
I was talking about there's some sheds right up here on Highway 69.
That's your favorite joke to make.
They build them and sell them.
I know, man. I know it.
That's what I was hoping you would do.
We're going to travel somewhere to go actually find some, I think.
Well,
and I don't know. We might try to. Around here, it's like there's a really tight window because green up is like literally days away right now.
Yeah.
And there's still deer holding antlers.
Mm-hmm.
But common sense would tell you like the bigger ones would drop early. So
okay, so about 5 days ago, maybe 6 days ago, last week, I didn't get to text you, I think because your phone was messed up, but there was, on 514, I came past our place there, and there was bucks everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of them were half horns.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, like good ones, dude.
Well,
I'm talking good ones.
It's been about a week and a half. I came past that same place, and every single one of those bucks had antlers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you see any 140s?
I did
I'm
not.
pretty sure I saw one.
I did not. I saw probably a 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a deer that was heavy. Looked like a heavy 8, kind of bleached horn. And was half horn.
Really?
So who knows? It could have been broke, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that time of year. So
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely are a little bit late. But we're gonna probably travel to where it's not so late. And I'm hoping with all the cold weather that they've had, that there's pretty easy to find still.
We've kind of scheduled our shed hunt that way because, was it 17? We went to Iowa and went shed hunting, and like none of the deer lost their antlers yet.
That was on Shed Rally weekend too.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bad deal.
It was.
And
It
this time
was.
we're like, let's just wait.
Yeah.
And go when like we know a bunch of deer dropped.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
I mean, especially up there, like up at Midwestern places. I mean, I think you've got a bigger window. I think guys just tend to scalp them in some areas pretty quick. You know?
Yeah. And I
So,
think also like if you go to a place where there may or may not be as many squirrels, it's not as essential.
Right.
It seems like a lot of those. I mean, I watched a little bit of that shed running stuff. Like there's a lot of antlers in some of those more wooded country stuff that they get smoked by squirrels quick.
I know. How does that happen?
I don't know, man.
That's just nuts, man. I've never really seen that happen, I don't guess. But
Nuts.
which, I mean,
squirrels.
hey, a little bit punny. Yeah, I pretty excited about it. I think. What's your main goal on that trip?
Honestly,
Yeah,
obtain properties.
that's what I was thinking. That's kind of where I'm at too.
Like I'm gonna love walking around looking for sheds, but I like just as much driving around finding a property and being like, oh, look at this, man.
I like it more.
Let's call
I like
people.
it more. I like sheds, but don't get me wrong. I like to shed hunt. I like to get out and walk, but I'm just not like. There are lots of guys out there that are like, oh, the crown jewel of springtime, and I'm just like, no, that's the largemouth bass.
When I find a big, for real. When I find a big one, I'm stoked. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but like,
for sure.
It's just.
That doesn't happen
It's
often.
another, for real. But it's another one of those things where it's like time put in versus what you're rewarded with. Like, you can go up there and spend like 7 days straight walking around and maybe find 1 or 2 really big sheds. If you spent 7 days trying to obtain a
Really
permission
big properties.
property anywhere in the country, think about the future potential, like the implications of that.
You get to shoot deer with both of those
Oh
antlers
my
on his
goodness!
head.
And there's a skull and
cape.
fur and meat with it. How about that?
That's
you
how
know?
I feel about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So that's kind of my goal as well, man. So I'm glad we're on the same page. We need to go check cams on Texas Pub.
We do.
pretty soon.
We do. I'm trying to figure out where to fit that in.
Yeah, it's going to be cottonmouth time by the time we get to do. I have a feeling everything flooded. Cottonmouth's just going to be swimming around, swimming on our cameras and stuff. If I get a picture of a cottonmouth, I'm definitely posting it. We got pictures of ducks.
We did. We got quite a few pictures.
I need to
of ducks.
post those. We got trail camera pictures of ducks that are like eye level.
Yeah.
Which means our trail cameras got smoked.
Mm-hmm. Not good. Not good.
So anyway, you've been doing some stuff out of your property.
Yeah, I've been doing some stuff on the property. I think we'll probably, post some of that stuff on YouTube. Maybe we might be working with a few partners on some stuff like that. Just for habitat improvements and whatnot.
Depends on if we can say the right things.
Yeah, that's right. takes a few takes or whatever. But
yeah,
putting some trees out and doing some stuff with some switchgrass. Like, cause it's a property I bought, right? So like I've got hopefully the rest of my life to do improvements on the place. So I'm trying not to bite off too much too fast and just think about prioritizing things. And I want to get covered near the road, and you can't ever plant trees too early because they take a long time to grow. So those are the two things I'm addressing right away. Going to send off some soil samples for food plots pretty soon. I'm not going to be going crazy with food plots. Technically, if I really want to make this place like a good deer hunting spot, I would just plant the whole thing in food plot because it's got cover all around.
Yeah,
But I don't want to do that. I want to make it like a very
Nature Conservancy.
I want to do like an outdoor classroom kind of thing with it. And I think it'll be kind of neat, like for a lot of people to come out and enjoy with me. And if I don't, here's something I want to emphasize on this property, and I've had kind of come full circle on it. And our buddies Matt and Adam at Land and Legacy kind of feel the same way too on some things. If you buy a property, but just treat it like a sanctuary area, and the only way you get to have fun on it is like 5 days in November, is it really worth it? I mean, in the right part of the country, maybe so. If you're talking southern Iowa and you can buy 80 acres and get a landowner tag and do that thing, then that would be sweet. But this is going to be out my back door. Do I really want to make any of it like a true sanctuary? Or do I really want to just get out there and enjoy the property and maybe improve habitat and have a chance at killing a couple deer a year?
I mean, to be honest with you, dude, those does in your area live amongst people.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be too scared of y'all, right? And so if you're talking about 5 days in November, it ain't going to matter anyway.
Yeah, those bucks don't care.
Are going to be coming from who knows where,
Just make sure you got plenty of food on your place for the does.
That's right.
You're pretty much set.
Yeah,
right?
I think you're right, man.
So, and here's the other thing, dude. Probably not going to kill a booner around here anyways.
No,
so
probably not.
Why hold out and make it a big serious thing, And I mean, how fair would that be to my wife if like we buy this together and then I've put all these restrictions on it for how we use it,
Don't go walking down by the pond in the mornings when you're trying to have your quiet time. We have all these different rules.
Yeah, exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. We're not going to put a racetrack through the middle of it or anything. The other day, my dad's like, you should cut some big trails through here so people walk around like, we'll probably do a little bit of that.
The more like thick, nasty you have, the less people are going to want to walk through it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like you can go walk through there if you want, but you're going to have chiggers all over you.
Look at that poison ivy right there. It looks like somebody planted that.
So, that's cool, man.
No, it's fun. It's been good, and I'm sure we'll do more of that later on as the season progresses because it'll be a long process.
For sure. You going to do any burning? You can't burn right now.
Right now it's raining cats and dogs. I don't know. I plan on doing some burning, but because the native warm season grass is supposed to really do well with fire on the landscape. So gonna promote some of that.
Well, there are other things that are on fire.
On fire.
The video on fire. So we talked about it earlier in the beginning of the podcast. Just to make sure there is a contest that we were running in association with this video that you can win an OnX Premium membership.
How about that?
For the year.
I didn't even know that.
I know it.
How do you win?
The best way to win, there are two ways. There's one way to win, but there are two things you can do.
Okay.
And if you can do one and be in the running, but if you do the other, we may show you some favoritism. So the first thing you do is you comment on the YouTube video on fire and tell us. You have to watch it and then comment and say like what your favorite part was, or just something you liked about it, or something positive. Right? We like positive stuff because there's not enough of that in the world right now. So comment on the YouTube video. It's on fire. The thumbnail is a Bible, a shotgun shell, and a match. So if you see that on our YouTube channel, that's the one. It's called On Fire.
It's a good thumbnail because I had to like really look at it to see what that match was.
Yeah, I wish I had it a little more zoomed in, probably, but like if you weren't on your mobile, you could probably see it a little better.
I mean, I think it's a good idea.
But anyway, so you comment on it. The way that we might show you favoritism is if you share it from our Facebook page. You share the link, that we've posted.
So we're talking like weighted bonus points here.
It's like weighted bonus points.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. So yeah, you have a better chance of winning, but it's not guaranteed if you share the post from our Facebook as well as commenting on the YouTube. So it has to be like that's a double whammy thing. So you can't just share it. Ultimately it's going to come from a comment on the YouTube. But if you share it, you might get like 2 chances in the hat.
Cool.
So anyway, that's how you can win. And honestly, like, I hope you guys really like the story. It was an interesting story. Like I said, it came organically. I showed up to film a duck hunt with a buddy, and he had 3 friends with him who are now kind of 3 friends of mine. And there was a really interesting story there in one of his friends that had happened, an event that had happened that was pretty traumatic over Thanksgiving. And luckily, Jonathan was willing to share that story and did a great job sharing it. And so there's a lot of killer duck footage, but there's also a really intriguing story there.
Yeah,
so.
It's great, man. I wasn't very much involved at all with the production of this thing. It's kind of the thing that you did. And I watched it this morning for the first time, and it was good. It was real good.
Yeah.
I was pumped.
In KC, like, he has some qualms with duck hunting a little bit. And so like, if he says it's good, it's for real, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you were talking about how it was like, you're glad that it wasn't just like slamming ducks the whole time.
Yeah.
There was more to it. So I thought the same thing. I was like, man, I like showing up and seeing them smoke ducks and they, either let me shoot them or send some home with me sometimes or whatever. But it was good to have like another part of that story there than just, because duck hunters can be a little bit maybe crude sometimes about the whole thing, and maybe touch vain, and I know ducks have a bad, or they're one of those
elitist.
species.
Would you like me to go on?
No, they could be. Those are different than the types of duck hunters I'm talking about. These are more redneck kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
But there are different, some pretty bad subtitles there of a duck hunter sometimes. And I'm a duck hunter. I grew up in high school. That was all I did was duck hunt, man. I loved it so much, and I still do. But it was good. It's good to see these guys like giving duck hunting a different face. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what we're trying to do with hunting. Here in Texas. So it makes sense. And good friends, good times, good video. So go watch it. Give us a comment. And anything else, man, that we need to leave them with?
That's it. I just can't wait for warmer weather. Y'all wish us good luck on our shed hunting trip that's coming up next week, and follow along on social media for all those cool things.
Yep.
Be sure to follow us at the Element Podcast on any of your favorite social media platforms. And then also, if you like what we're doing, be sure and go give us a review on iTunes because it helps us out a ton. We really appreciate those. So thanks for that, guys.
Thank you. I guess I'm through with my stuff too. So God bless you guys, and remember, this is your element.
Live in it.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.